Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live Q&A. It's Fiona Lukeis here, coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. So a big hello to everybody out there on Facebook and YouTube. If you are listening on either of those platforms, please say hello and let me know where you are. Always like to know where people are in the world. As always, I just love the fact that we can connect and from anywhere in the world. One of the great highlights of what I get to do is I get to speak to people from all sides of the globe. I was just having a lovely chat with a beautiful lady in Canada near, I think she said she was near Ontario. So wherever you are, I think it's amazing that we can all be connected and together in this moment of now. It's very, very, very cool. So always love to know where you're listening from. For those of you who don't know, I am located in Melbourne, Australia. And I am about an hour and a half out of the Melbourne CBD and live not too far from in a coastal area, and I just love where I live. It's absolutely beautiful. Spring is definitely sprung. It's very much spring here, and whilst the weather is wild and woolly and crazy because it always is a bit in spring, it's definitely getting warmer and warmer. Australia is entering daylight savings this weekend, so the time that I go live with you all next week is going to change, but I'll make sure I'm not entirely sure which way that's going to go. Our clocks go forward, so I think that means the time will be later in your time. But anyway, I'll make sure there's lots of social media posts and if you're on my email list, emails to let you know what time that means for you guys, no matter where you are in the world, because yes, that will have a ripple effect, definitely in parts of Australia, the US, Canada, and wherever. So I'll let you know where that is for next Friday. But for now, wherever you are, please say hi. And if you have a question that you would like me to answer, and I've got a few questions to go through here today, but if you do show up live and you ask me a question, I will prioritize that and make sure I answer that for you. Okay, so really appreciate people being able to show up live and contributing to the conversation. This is something that I notice with my relatable students on our live Q&As, which I run twice per week, and they are absolutely amazing. Our live calls, we have an extraordinary conversation. It truly is. And I know that's because we are creating a safe space. People are generous, people contribute, people ask questions, they share insights. And so we get to have these conversations that people don't get to have anywhere else. And, I want to be able to generate that as much as possible through this forum every Friday for you guys. So if there is something you would like to ask me, pop it in the comments below and I will do my absolute best to answer it for you. If you're just joining in live, please say hi, let me know where you're answering from. And for anybody who's just, I know there's been some big things going on in the world this week. We've had that very, very full-on hurricane that's hit Carolina and Florida. I want you to know I've got clients and students in those areas. So thinking of you, my heart goes out to you. I hope that you are okay. I hope that you have access to the resources and the things that you need. And I know there are people in Israel dealing with bombings and things going on there. So and obviously it's not just Israel. There's Gaza and all that area as well. So I want you to know that we are thinking of you, and our hearts also go out to you, sending you anybody who's struggling. I really want you to know I spend time thinking about that, sending out love, kindness, strength, support in whichever way I can. We are energetic beings and people do not appreciate this enough. Your energy goes to places you cannot possibly imagine. And so while some of you might be listening to this and thinking, well, that's all great, Fiona, but, there's not much you can do. I truly do believe that sending those things out creates its own ripple effect in some small way. And if we're all doing it, or a large majority are sending out love, kindness, compassion to where the world needs it, this is only a good thing. It will lift the level of awareness and consciousness. It just does. That's the power that we all have and we all need to understand. And you have the access to that irrespective of your past, your age, your gender, your culture, whatever you believe to be true about you. that does not take away your capacity for that. Nothing can take that away from you. So hi, Ian. Thanks for saying hi. I appreciate that. Anyone else out there who wants to say hi, I really appreciate that. Where are you from, Ian? I can't quite remember. I think you've told me before, but I've forgotten. Are you in Australia, um, or are you overseas somewhere? Would love to know. And like I said, if you have a question, please, please, please pop it in the comments below. And so far, I've just kind of put love and thoughts and prayers out to people who are struggling in the world. So let's take a look at some of the questions that have been sent in today. I didn't get through as many questions last week, but I am coming back to them. Oh, so I'll make sure I always come back and make sure that if you've answered a question and I haven't got to it yet, I will get to it. Okay, I promise you that. Some of them, I'm still answering questions from earlier in September at the moment. So if you've sent something in this week, I won't get to it this week. It'll be answered next week. But let's get to, where are we? All right. Okay, so I won't read out this whole question because it's far, far, far too long. So I'm going to shorten it down. But basically, I've had an email in from someone who's been married for 20 years and have been struggling for the last couple of years because there's just been some issues they've been dealing with. I think we'll just keep it as simple as that. And what the question is now, so without going through everything, is I'm really working on myself, Fiona. I'm taking basically, this person saying I'm working on myself. I'm taking ownership over the wrongs that I've done in the past. I'm stepping up more, helping out more around the house, and really trying to connect. But I'm not getting much back from my wife, is essentially what's being said here. Okay, that she feels she hasn't got anything left to give, and that even though I'm doing the work and I believe we can have a relationship that's better than ever and we can help each other along the way without the issues we've had, I'm not getting much back. Okay, is essentially what's saying here. So I feel like I'm showing her way more appreciation than ever before and understanding, but I'm unsure how to handle it when she gets angry easily. Okay. So I think for anybody who's dealing with a situation like that, and there is a lot of people who come to me who are in a situation where they are rebuilding a relationship, where you've had issues and that relationship is now in a state of rebuilding. I think it's really important to understand that when you are in the rebuild phase, just because you've had some realizations and insights, and people do, which is fantastic, and you learn things about yourself and you recognize where perhaps you've been emotionally stingy, you know what I mean? And what I mean by emotionally stingy is, maybe your friends and family have been getting the best of you and your partner's been getting the worst of you, for example. Or maybe your clients and work people have been getting the best of you, and your family and your partner have been getting the worst of you. Okay. So in other words, you're putting it on for everyone else and then coming home and you're just not present enough. You don't have the emotional bandwidth, and you end up being really stingy. So grumpy, short, disconnected, tired, not showing any interest. And after a while, those things take their toll. So let's just say you've recognized that wherever it is, there are things that you need to contribute to create change. I think the first thing you have to understand is, if you are in a relationship that's been in decline for several years, and many people will acknowledge this and say, yes, that has been the case, or even if it's been 2 years or 1 year or whatever the period of time is, you need to be cognizant of that. So, for example, if the relationship's been struggling for a couple of years and you've done some work on yourself, which is fantastic, and you've had some realizations and you're making changes, but you're not getting much back from your partner. There's not a lot of you're getting resistance. There's not a lot of acknowledgement. You need to be, first of all, super super patient. This isn't going to turn around in a month or 2 months or 3 months necessarily. I mean, sometimes that happens, but it can take time for another person to regain emotional trust in you, meaning feeling emotionally safe, feeling like this isn't just a fad, that you actually mean it, that this is a long-term change, not just something you're doing for a little bit and then things are going to go back to the way they were. And so I think sometimes we kind of expect things to move faster than what they are. And also we tend to get very caught up in what someone else is or isn't doing, rather than just staying in our own lane and focusing on how we're showing up. To me, that is the emotional labor that we need to do in relationships. And people aren't prepared to do it. Okay. They're just not. People are not prepared to do the emotional labor. And emotional labor, especially when you're coming from a place of understanding in terms of what's going on for another person, in terms of what's going on for you, in terms of knowing what you're generating and how you're showing up, which is incredibly freeing. Emotional labor can be awesome. It can be fun. It doesn't have to be this big, heavy thing. It can actually be this wonderful, freeing thing that you start bringing because you get it now. You see it. You're aware of what it is you want to generate and create, and you're totally committed to doing that. You're not kind of just doing the bare minimum hoping that it will change things. And I think that is where a lot of people are, and they're not actually really acknowledging that, right? They're doing the bare minimum and then kind of comparing notes. If you're really in the rebuild phase of a relationship, you've got to take all the agenda away. You got to stop comparing notes in terms of whether you think you've done more than someone else or you're trying harder than the next person, and all of that kind of egoic centered thinking, because all that's going to do is create resentment. Because whenever we're comparing ourselves, we just have this capacity to always feel like we are doing more than somebody else. And then we evidence gather and we get caught up in the resentment of that. And then we stop doing the emotional labor. And emotional labor is holding space. It's being patient. It's giving people the benefit of the doubt. It's leaning in rather than leaning out. It's being heartfelt in your communication. It's excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Sorry about that, guys. It's showing up like that consistently over a period of time. It's navigating yourself so that you get over yourself constantly. This is the emotional labor of love that people just aren't prepared to do. Or if they are, they kind of do it in a stingy way. And I say this like, I'm not saying this to have a go at people, but we do kind of do. Well, I'll do it for a few weeks, or I might even do it for a month. But after that, if I don't get something back, if I don't see a decent amount of change, if the other person doesn't start matching me, we get so caught up in our ego-centered mind, and we start getting resentful and self-righteous, and things go back to the way they were. So, you got to be prepared to put the time in and hold space and keep showing up again and again and again. And that's what we call the emotional labor of love. People aren't prepared to do it. They're not. Things start getting hard, they start feeling frustrated, and they give up. And so I guess what I would be saying is you've got to be able to look inside yourself and really know to the depth of your being that you have been showing up over a consistent period of time. You've been consistent. Your mind is clear. You know what you're generating. You understand how things work. You're navigating your thinking differently. You're navigating your emotions differently. You're getting over yourself. You're bringing it, right? Like you're really bringing it, and you're generating that, and you're doing it consistently over an extended period of time. I think there are very few people who would be able to say yes to that if you are really honest with yourself. Now, if you're wondering, how do I do all of those things? How do I access that? This is everything that I teach inside of my Relatable program. If you're wondering how I do that, I teach that in Relatable step by step. Okay. And we talk about it on the live calls. I will answer your questions about what what you're getting stuck around or what you're not seeing or all of those things. So there's lots of support, there's lots of understanding. It is, and you can access those live calls for 12 months. So you've got an incredible amount of opportunity to really be able to do that consistently over an extended period of time. This is what I don't see people doing. People do that kind of half-heartedly for a period of time, or they commit to it for a period of time, but then when they feel like the other person isn't matching them or they're not getting much back, then they start to get frustrated. They lose hope, they become disillusioned, I understand, and then it kind of all falls away. With the understanding that I teach, your capacity to generate that increases exponentially. Your capacity to be patient, to give someone the benefit of the doubt, to lean in rather than lean out, to learn how to and continue to bring emotional labor to things, really, really, really makes an enormous difference. Okay. So it is possible. You can do it, and you do it from what I would call a generosity of spirit. So I would say if you've been struggling for a number of years, you need to up the ante on that and do that for a longer period of time. And then, like I say to everybody else, if you're doing that for an extended period of time and you're really clear on what you're generating and how you're showing up, and you're not seeing any change, then you will then be at a point where you'll make a decision on whether this is something you want to continue doing, if this is in your best interests. And a lot of people say to me, how will I know that? And I say, well, that's between you and wisdom. It totally is, because that's a very personal thing and it's different for everybody. But if you have a good relationship with your own wisdom, if you have clarity of mind, that will be quite obvious to you. So great question. I hope that helps, and I hope that's answered that for you. If anyone's not sure about anything that I said, feel free to ask for clarification in the comments. Hi, Michelle. Appreciate you saying hi. You're driving. You're in New South Wales. Okay, beautiful. I bet you're driving in your beautiful RV, your van. I hope the weather's there good for you. And you're on YouTube, so that's awesome. It's nice to there's someone out there on YouTube. Hi, Tara. Thank you, honey. Happy Friday to you as well. So nice to hear from you. Really is. And you're in Baronia, Ed. Okay, cool. Not so far away from me. You're in Victoria. Okay, so anybody else who wants to say hi, please do so. I will get to the next question. Or if you have a question you want me to answer, pop it in the comments below. All right, so next question for today. Okay. Hi, Fiona. How do you deal with a partner constantly on their phone, looking at things, no conversation at all, sleeps in a separate room, talks to anyone who visits, but no conversation with me? This has been going on for years. He does not try to make any connection, ask to play cards or anything. He is happy to play on his phone, but not with me. I have given up trying and now considering separation, but I am 66 and will find it hard to start again. Oh, I'm so sorry. That sounds very lonely, first of all. It really does. That sounds very, very lonely. And I'm sorry that you are going through that. I really am. I really am. I'm very, very sorry. I think if you're in a situation like this, where you're in a relationship with someone who shows no interest in being with you, okay, in connecting with you, in spending time with you, first of all, I'm just going to ask the obvious thing. Have you sat down and had that conversation? Hey, I noticed that you're not really interested in connecting with me. You're on your phone all the time. You don't want to talk to me. What's that all about? Like, do you not love me anymore? Do you not want to be with me? Where are you at? And you're able to say that from a neutral place without being accusatory and defensive and all of those things, right? Because you'll get nowhere from that space. So accusatory and defensive sounds something like, I've had enough of this. You never talk to me. You're always on your phone. You show no interest in me. What's the point in us even having a relationship? Why are we even together, right? That defensive, self-righteous kind of judgmental tone will get you nowhere. It'll just cause the other person to shut down and get defensive, and it just becomes ego mind versus ego mind. You just kind of headbutt with the other person. So your ability to do that from a neutral place, a curious place, like, hey, I'm just wondering It's okay. Like if you're feeling like this isn't working for you, I'd rather know, I'd rather kind of find out where we're at. So that would be the first obvious kind of thing is, have you done that? And have you done that from a really neutral place? All right. Have you done that from a really neutral place? That's very, very important. And the other piece to that would then be if you have done that and you're not getting anything back, right? If you're not getting anything back, I think that's when you have to decide for yourself what it is that you want to be in the creation of. I truly think we don't understand this enough. We don't. And again, this is something that I am talking about a lot. And in fact, I have the whole final module of Relatable is to take you through a process where you start to really create what it is that you want in terms of how you want to feel, how you want to show up, the what it is that you want to generate. And you get really clear on that. I think that is just so, so, so important, because most of us, when we don't have an understanding of that, we live our lives in reaction to life. And this is very problematic in our relationships when we're living life in reaction to life. So we are, we're kind of living our life based on what someone else is doing or not doing, based on what the situation we find ourselves in. So that is very important. You've got to ask yourself, what is it that you want to create and generate for yourself? Now, I appreciate what you're saying. You're saying that you're 66 and starting all over again at that age seems overwhelming and difficult and all of those things. But this is where you've got to get to a point in life where you've got to back yourself. Like, people don't back themselves enough. This is your life. How do you want it to be? What's the feeling you want to live your life in? Because the feeling you live in determines everything, right? The quality of the feeling you live your life in will determine your entire life. Okay. If I'm in an anxious, upset feeling, there's where my quality of life sits. If I'm in a loving feeling, there's where my quality of life sits. If I'm in a regretful, sad feeling, that's where my quality of life sits. Your quality of life meets you based on the quality of the feeling you're in and that you generate. And for most people, they think that the quality of the feeling they're in is very dependent upon what's going on out here. That is just not true. I promise you that. And when you deeply understand and see that for yourself, and again, that's everything I teach inside my Relatable program, you start to get your power back. You start to feel more empowered, and you start thinking about what you want to create, what works for you, and what you want to be in the beingness of, in the feeling of. And then it's a whole new world. Okay. It's a whole new world. And people start to become a lot better at backing themselves. And you can back yourself at any age. You really, really can. And when you truly back yourself, and you know the difference between making decision that's based on love versus fear. So many of us make decisions based on fear, and I understand why. I really do, because us humans aren't so great with the unknown, right? We get frightened of the unknown. But I can assure you, when you're focusing on and your clarity around what you want to generate for yourself, your ability to navigate the unknown changes. Okay, it is not too late for you, honey. I promise you, it's not. 66 is not too late for you to really sit down and go, this is your life. How do you want it to be? What do you want to create for yourself? It's very, very important that you sit down and ask yourselves those questions. And if you don't know the answer to that, give it time. Get used to asking yourself the question. Right? This is a question people don't ask themselves. Some people never ask themselves that question. Or if they do, they kind of brush through it. They don't spend time sitting in it. And being in a reflective state of mind. In a reflective state of mind, we are far more insightful, and we are far more in touch with what's actually really important to us and what it is we want to be in the generation and creation of. This is so, 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 I cannot tell you how important it is. As I started to see this deeply for myself, that is when the trajectory of my entire life changed, and is still doing so. It is still doing so. That's why it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. Truly. I can't tell you. I laugh, when I when I came across this understanding, I was in my early 30s, I guess, maybe mid 30s. And I was in complete reaction to life. I wasn't thinking about, and I didn't even see myself as a generator or creator of anything. And the trajectory of my life was a direct reflection of that. I didn't know that at the time. It looked like the trajectory of my life was going a certain way because I was an unlucky person, because life never really worked out for me, because I was just one of those people who never copped a break in life. That's how I saw life. And so I was in the complete generation creation of that, unwittingly, innocently, but I was. And so in my mind, life was hard. Life was very personal. Life never really went my way. And so I didn't have a lot of faith and trust in life, to be honest. I kind of felt like I had to be on guard the whole time. I had to be careful. I felt like it was me against the world on some level. And that I had to work really, really, really hard just for things to kind of maybe work out for me someday. That was what I was in the generation and creation of. And to be quite honest with you, that's how everything was reflected back to me. And back then, I thought I was too old to change. I thought I'd missed the boat, right? Which I find hilarious. But that's what I really did. I thought, oh, I'm stuck. I'm stuck now. This is me. I'm too old. And of course, someone who's in their 60s is going to think someone in their 30s is very, very young. And this is why age is really irrelevant in terms of when you think about what it is you want to generate, create, and being in the feeling of yourself. I can't tell you how important that is. I cannot tell you. This is why this year I have, as many of you know, been very committed to and in the generation and creation of dialing up the level of love that I feel and experience for myself and the people around me. And I've just done that as a bit of I've done that as a bit of an experiment. Let's just see what I can generate. I haven't done it because I want anything back or I've got an agenda. I'm really curious to see what one person can generate. And it has been amazing. My husband and I are closer than we've ever been. I feel fantastic. I'm not saying I don't have the same issues as everybody else. I have days where life feels more challenging than others. I have days where, you know, generating generating love or doing the emotional labor of that feels difficult and all of those kind of stuff, right? But on an overall level, it has the amount of goodwill and connection between my husband and I has gone through the roof. I mean, it was already pretty high, but now it's just gone to a whole other level. And it's just awesome to know that I've played such a massive role in that. And then I get to live in the feeling of that. So, like, it to me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer that you get to understand that about yourself and how you can generate it for yourself, because everyone has that built-in capacity. And it's so, 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 so good for our relationships. It really is, for the level of connection in our relationships and in our lives. Hi, Daryl. Nice to hear from you. I hope all's going well with you. Thanks for saying hi. Really appreciate that. Anyone else out there who wants to say hi? So, I guess for this beautiful soul who sent this question in, first have that conversation from that neutral place. And then I want you to really think about what you want to be in the generation and creation of. And then ask yourself, what are you prepared to do about that? Okay, to make that happen. Because then you've got to take aligned action, right? But get the clarity first, because then the aligned action looks like a no-brainer. I promise you, it really, really does. Oh, great to hear, Daryl, that life is awesome. Good for you. I'm really, really happy for you. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. So next question. Next question. Let me see. Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for everything that you do. I really, really appreciate it. I listen to your Facebook lives every week and find them so helpful. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, I'm just looking. All right. So this is a question from someone who's found out their partner's having an affair. Okay. I found out my wife of 30 years was having an affair at the end of March of this year. It took her some time to talk to me about it. One of the things I've asked her to do is to stop communicating with her, the person she had the affair with. I told her this is a requirement for me to start the healing process. She may have stopped for a week or more, but has re-established communication via texting and has continued to text in a section, and they've continued to text in a sexual nature with one another. I'm really hurt that she's done this after I've asked her to stop. Um, okay. Okay. Here's the thing, guys. All right. Here's the thing. Hi, Lisa from North Carolina. I hope that you're okay after the hurricane that's come your way. I really, really do. I hope that you're safe and well and your loved ones are okay. Hi, Dan from WA State. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for saying hi. Really appreciate it. Okay, so here's the thing with an affair, guys. This is really, really important. I often get people sending me in questions about what do I do if I found out my partner's having an affair, etc. So, first thing I want to say is affairs don't have to be the end of your relationship, and a lot of people don't know how they're going to react to something like this until they are in the experience of it. So, a lot of people say to me, "Oh my goodness, I thought I would be someone that would walk away instantly if I found out about an affair, but I've just found out about my wife and my husband, and that's not what I want to do. I want to repair things." Right? We just don't know how we are going to experience anything. This is why you must never, ever, ever assume you understand what it's like to be in someone else's shoes, because you don't. How you would handle something, it has no bearing on what someone else would or wouldn't do. This is because people live in separate realities. And so you've got to be respectful of what someone else's reality is around something and the decision they've made to handle something. Just because it's not what you would do does not make it right or wrong or better or worse. Okay? It's just different. So that's the first thing I want to say. So if you're in a situation where your partner has had an affair and you know that you want the relationship to work out, there's a couple of things that just need to happen. I don't often talk about rules of thumb here because each person is so unique and different and we approach things differently. But in this case, if you're looking to rebuild trust, the person must break contact with the other party. That just has to happen. There's no way you're going to be able to rebuild trust if the other party has not broken contact. Okay. Now, I know there are some exceptions to this, and that is where two people work together, and there's been an affair, and they may have to engage through a work situation. And I would sort of say, if that's the case, then the person who's got to work with the person they've had an affair with just has to be completely open in terms of you being able to check their phone, social media, and just going every time that you have any concerns that their access to their things is an open book for you, right? And if there's any resistance to that, then it's going to be almost impossible or difficult to rebuild trust. I mean, my husband has the password to my phone. I know the password to his. If he ever wanted to look for my phone, I wouldn't care less. I've got nothing to hide. I know I would never get defensive about it. I'm like, sure, babe, take a look. It's all yours. Whatever you need to feel okay, I'm totally open and up for. And if I wanted to check through his stuff, he would be completely fine as well. I got nothing on that. I don't care. I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, you're just being insecure. Like, why would I do that? If you need some reassurance, I get it. We all do. Go for your life, right? So you would absolutely want to make sure that that's an open book. Now, in a situation where you're not working with the other part, where they're not working together, they must break contact. All right, because I mean, it is just so difficult every time they're texting or communicating. That's just disrespectful to you, to the marriage. And I would say that means that person isn't really committed to moving forward. Okay. So if your wife is still texting or things of a sexual nature, then they are not committed to moving forward. So again, this is where you have to back yourself. You have to then, instead of getting all worked up around what the other person is or isn't doing, you've got to come back to you and go, and it's going to be a similar answer to what I just gave to the lady whose partner is on the phone and not showing any interest in connecting with her. What is it that you want for yourself? What do you want to generate for yourself? What do you want to create for yourself? What is it that you want? And is this situation a match for that? Now, a lot of people don't want to ask themselves that question because they don't want to deal with what potentially what the answer might be. Because sometimes the answer might be no, it's not a match. And people don't want to face that, right? But if you are dealing with an affair and the other party is still communicating with the other person, they're still texting, they haven't cut them out of their life, that is not someone who's committed to repairing things. I'm sorry, it's just not. A person who's committed to repairing things would cut contact, would show up and say, I will do whatever it takes, would go and get counseling, go and get help, do whatever you need so that you feel trusting, safe, and secure again. That has to be the baseline for anyone to be able to move forward from an affair or any kind of indiscretion. Okay. So if that's not happening, I'm really sorry, but your partner is not committed to creating change. And the sooner you accept that and start to then, because once we accept that, we can start thinking, we can move more, we can move to the place of asking ourselves, well, what do I want to do around that? Where do I want to go with this? All right. Rather than distracting ourselves, which is what people do, we distract ourselves from what's kind of in our face by looking at and asking ourselves, well, how do I want to handle this? They're not taking ownership. This isn't fair to me. I can't believe they're doing that. That's not okay. I'm really hurt. And I understand that, of course, you are all of those things. But whilst you distract yourself with the hurt and the upset, you're sort of stuck in limbo land with that situation. It's very, very clear. If you want to recover from an affair, the other party needs to be an open book. They need to acknowledge the hurt and pain that they've caused, and they need to show that they are committed to moving forward. And they need to be patient, okay? Because if you are the person whose partner has had the affair, you're just going to need time and space. Now, at the same time, you can't, there's got to be a point where you get to a point where you all move forward and you let it go. But there's got to be that initial, I'll do whatever it takes. I'm cutting all contact. You can look through my phone. You can look through my social media. I'm an open book. The other party is continuing to hide things and continuing to connect with the other person, and they're not owning their role. That is someone who is absolutely not committed to moving forward. They're not prepared to do the labor of love that's involved in getting the relationship back on track. And if that is the case for you, then you really need to check in with yourself and you need to back yourself. Don't stay with someone out of fear. Don't diminish yourself that way. Like, when we give ourselves the gift of loving, owning, honoring ourselves, taking care of ourselves, backing ourselves, life will meet you there. I promise. I'm not going to say it's not going to be difficult and challenging and have its scary moments, but oh my goodness, what is available to you on the other side of that is truly amazing. Amazing. I get to see this all of the time with my relatable students, with my clients. Like, truly, I've seen it in my own life when I've backed myself and I've stepped into the unknown, and I'm like trusted that life will meet me at the space that I want to generate and create the life that I love for myself. Life will meet you there. I promise you that it will. But you got to back yourself. A lot of people get stuck. They diminish themselves and they get stuck in a situation that's not honoring of who they are because they're too scared to back themselves. Okay? I really, really hope that helps. And I wish you all the best as you move through that. It's a painful thing, I know, but it can also give you access to some of the greatest lessons and opportunities to expand that you can ever possibly imagine when we have enough humility and grace to actually see that for ourselves. Okay. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for me today. I hope that whatever I've shared with you here has been helpful. If you do have a question that you want me to answer, please send it to hello@fionalukeis.com.au, and we will add it to the list of questions for next week's Friday Live. If you would like to find out more about Relatable and our awesome, awesome community and what's available for you there, you can book a call with me, and I'd be more than happy to kind of explain to you what's involved, how it works, all of that kind of stuff. So you can book a call with me here, or if you want to find out about my couples retreats, which are totally awesome as well, or any of the services, things that I have to offer, you are welcome to book a chat with me via this link here. It will also offer you times in your time zone. If you're in a different time zone, I work with clients all over the world in all sorts of different time zones. So there will always be a time that works for you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. I will see you next week. Remember, we are in daylight savings, so this will be at a different time in your time zone next week, but I'll make sure that there are lots of notifications about that on social media. All right, everyone. Take care. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next week. Ciao, everyone.